In this episode, we're going to be exploring the national parks, national forest, and national grasslands of South Dakota and Nebraska. Along the way, we're going to explain a little bit about how we come up with and then plan our overland adventures. This is Wanderlust Overland.
Where the heck are we?
Well, this can't be right.
So today we drove about 7 hours from our home in Illinois out here to Ponca State Park in Nebraska. And it's drizzly and cold and a little bit gross, but you know what? On the bright side, there's no bugs.
Now, if we plan to camp at a popular campground or get a room or cabin for the night, reservations are nice to have and oftentimes necessary. It's nice to know we have a place to sleep at night.
Who the are you talking to?
Anyways, yeah, like Mary says, it's like 40 degrees and raining.
There's not a lot of people out here.
No, it's not that we don't like people, but we kind of like the solitude of camping, you know, out in the middle of nowhere by ourselves. But we pretty much have the run of the place because it's 40 degrees and raining probably. Yeah, what we're doing is we're traveling along the Missouri River, kind of north and west towards where we're going to end up tonight. What we did was we followed along the little tiny lines on the map, all the back roads to get here. Some roads were pretty sketchy, and we saw a lot of scenery, a lot of wildlife, and we got a little muddy. But now we're on our way to our final destination for the day, where we're going to be camping is Fort Pierre National Grasslands in South Dakota. And I'm going to have to look at the time. We may have to jump on a highway to put some miles behind us to get there before dark. Like most overlanders planning an adventure, we first determine how much time we have, and then we pick a destination or a turnaround point. And we make every attempt to come back a different route than we took out, just to make the most of our time. Now, our next step couldn't be simpler. We just go to Google Maps and look for spots of green in between us and our destination, and that will tell us what public lands there are that might be worth exploring.
National parks, national forests, national monuments, national grasslands, Bureau of Land Management or BLM lands, state forests, state parks, and even county parks.
Then we go to their websites and see what's there.
Is there camping? Better yet, dispersed camping? Notable historic or natural sites worth seeing? Forest Service roads and trails worth exploring? And are there fees and or permits required?
Now, a little bit about permits. Some public lands require that you have one, but oftentimes they're not perfectly clear on who needs one, whether it's for side-by-sides and ATVs or do SUVs and trucks need them. We oftentimes don't take a chance and get one regardless. They're usually cheap, and do this online way ahead of time. And then we work out the mileage and travel times. Here, try that. Then we take all that and put it into an itinerary sheet. To it, we staple all our reservation confirmations, permits, even our menu and grocery list.
Do we even need this?
Something to keep in mind when you're traveling in places where, especially out west here, where there's not a lot of gas stations because the towns are so far apart. And since we're going to be away from highways quite a bit, it's a good time to fuel up whenever you can, whenever you see a station, especially if you're anywhere near half the tank or so. You don't want to run out. And we also carry 3 gallons of spare just in case. We've had to use that a few times.
So today was fun. We went down a lot of twisty, dusty dirt roads.
Muddy.
Saw a lot of wildlife, a lot of cows, and now we're camped in the middle of someone's pasture. Just kidding. We're at Fort Pierre National Grassland.
Yep, and we're what's called dispersed camping. Now, a little bit about dispersed camping. This is primitive camping at its finest. There are no picnic tables, there's no running water, there's no outhouses, no fire rings. In fact, a lot of areas won't even allow ground fires at all. That's another thing. When you're out here in tall grass, be extremely careful where you go and when you park especially, because if that dry grass touches your catalytic converter underneath your truck, it goes up in flames. So be very careful about that. Now, it's incredibly important that your goal to be to leave this site as pristine as what you found it, maybe even better, and with no evidence that you camped there at all. All right, another early morning for us. We would have gotten up a little bit earlier, but as soon as we started to get up, it started raining. So we decided to go back to sleep for a little while longer. The wind really picked up last night, and out here there is nothing to buffer it or to stop it. And it was testing our tent quite a bit. And now we're off to, we're kind of wiggling our way through the back roads to the east end of Badlands National Park, and then figure out where we want to go from there. Now, to pick a route from here, from camp to the Badlands, we want to take all back roads to get there. So we put into our GPS the shortest
on 281st Avenue.
route there, and hopefully that's going to get us off onto some ranch roads and back streets.
Oh, it will.
Something to keep in mind when you're out here is the weather, particularly rain. When you're out here, this is all black dirt that we're driving on, and if we were to have a torrential downpour, it would be a little tough to get back out. So before we even came in, we checked with the NOAA weather. We have a weather radio on our CB. We checked with it, the forecast, and it just said some showers, which we got, and it wasn't that much. In fact, it barely wetted the surface, so something to keep an eye on. Well, as you can see, we made it to the Badlands. We did have to take Interstate 90 for a short period of time just to make up some miles. Now, one thing about our national parks is they get very, very touristy. The whole surrounding area around us and even into the Black Hills is very touristy. The nice thing about it is the tourists kind of all conglomerate into one area, and that leaves the whole rest of the park for people like us, if you're willing to get off the beaten path a little bit. One thing to keep in mind, most national parks are not dog friendly. Either you're extremely limited on where you can go with them, like here in the Badlands, or they're not allowed at all. Now, there's two units of the Badlands National Park. There's the north and the south. The north is the most popular, probably because it has that scenic drive through it. But the south unit is about the only place where there's a couple of off-road trails. Off-roading in the national park is really limited, and there's no dispersed camping, none of that. And well, unless, I think maybe if you're backpacking you can, but not out of a vehicle. So we're heading south, and we're going to show you a couple trails down here. So we came south on Bombing Range Road and then turned off on Sheep Mountain Road, and here we are. The road in here is pretty tame. Any kind of vehicle can make it, but you can see the views we have. But this is what we're after. We're going to continue on past this little turn-off thing here for the normal tourists. It rained last night, obviously, so there's some mud, and we're going to take it easy. We don't want to get stuck in there, but we're going to give it a try. Come on. It looks like we've reached the end. All right, well, that was short but sweet. The thing is when you do little trails like this, you get all the spectacular views and no tourists. Let's go find something else. Okay, so sometimes things just don't pan out for us. Looked like a road on the map, but as you can see, we ran out of road. So we'll turn around and find an alternative.
Wow.
Okay, well, we're not doing too well. Let's turn around again. Now, even after all that planning and research and making out a time frame, things can go wrong. Roads can get washed out, campsites may not be accessible, bad turn in the weather. If something can go wrong, it likely will. So you have to just take it all in stride and be prepared to change up your plans a little bit.
We're in Buffalo Gap, Grasslands, and even if you think that there's no one around and it doesn't matter, it always matters. Check your map and make sure that you're in a designated place on an actual forest road. There were rangers in here earlier, and if we weren't on the right road, we would have
Would have been busted.
in trouble.
In fact, they actually talked to somebody that went through a gate that was closed and said no motor vehicles. Yeah, they had a little chat with them. Something that you must have is a motor vehicle usage map for that particular national land that you're traveling on. This will show you exactly where it's legal for you to drive and where it's legal to disperse camp. And you can get this from their website, either in paper form or as a download to a device. And make sure you get the current year that you're going to be traveling there, because they do change. We were going to camp at this French Creek campsite or campground that's down a couple miles from here, but we drove in and we saw there was campers there and they had generators. So we decided, nope, that wasn't our thing. So we found this service road and here we are.
Pretty nice.
Very nice. Now I'm gonna eat. It's been a long day.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This campsite smells as sagey as your Thanksgiving stuffing.
So we had a great night's sleep. We just got up, got ourselves some coffee, got packed up about 7:30 in the morning, and we're going to take a drive around in the grasslands here on some of these Forest Service roads and take a look around. This looks pretty cool. So we made it to Black Hills National Forest. This was our final destination for this trip. Everything leading up to this and following this is just stuff we add in to make a nice loop trip, keep us busy. Yeah, we're spending the whole day running some trails out here. This is another place where it's critical that you get a motor vehicle usage map to find out where you can legally run and where you want to run. Because there's so many trails out here, you could spend weeks out here and never hit all of them. So it's critical that you get maps. And now, yeah, we're gonna spend a day doing this and then find a nice secluded place to disperse camp and call it a night. A majority of our public lands are leased out for livestock grazing. If you find a gate closed, make certain you close it after going through. And if you find it's open, just leave it open. So we got a extremely early start this morning. In fact, we actually drove out of the Black Hills in the dark, which was a lot of fun. I kind of enjoy that. And now we are, well, first off, let me explain. We were going to spend 2 days, 2 nights in the Black Hills, but our plans are changing. There's a cold front, extreme cold front predicted to come through today. It's going to drop the temps down into the 30s. With rain and snow, and we already have some 50-mile-an-hour gusts and such. So we're heading south to Nebraska, the very northwest corner of Nebraska, to the Ogallala National Grasslands. We're going to check it out, and we're going to keep an eye on the weather. We may have to change our plans again, but yeah, everything's going to work out great, and we're on our way south.
Well, we've been driving across the grasslands this morning, and it's vast and huge.
Very, very few trees, but it's way cool. A lot of fences. Some of those fences were kind of a pain in the ass.
Well, gotta keep the cattle in.
Got to keep the cattle in. All right, now we're off to, I think, Valentine National Wildlife Refuge, something like that, and Nebraska National Forests. And we'll see where we end up tonight. This day was a full one. After leaving the Ogallala Grasslands in the far northwest corner, we skedaddled ourselves to the center of the state to explore Nebraska's national forests. Well, we made it to our favorite spot in Nebraska, Nebraska National Forest near Halsey. This is a tremendous place to go. It's got great sandy trails, excellent dispersed camping, especially on 201. And there is a campground up at the by the highway. It's called Bessie Recreational Campground, but that's more for ATVs and side-by-sides. So there is a small, maybe eight site place called Natick Campground on the far west side. We stayed there once. That's nice and quiet.
Don't they have dispersed camping here as well?
Yeah, I think I already mentioned that.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
great dispersed camping all along here.
And pine cones.
And lots of pine cones. And I think this is where we're going to leave you. We hope that we were of some help to you in you coming up with your own adventures. And just one more thing.
We've had a lot of fun out here.
We have had a lot of fun out here, and I forgot what I was
I
going to say.
knew he forgot. That's
I
why I
forgot
tried
what I
to
was
fill
gonna
in
say.
and give him time to think of it, but you know,
I
sometimes.
still can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, remember to always tread lightly and stay the trail. I have a mouthful of cracker.
So today we drove about 7 miles, or 7 miles.
7 miles, I wish.
If this is your first time watching one of our videos and you'd like to see more, hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to ring the bell if you want to be notified.